Humans are, by all biological standards, surprisingly fragile. We have no claws, no thick fur, and our sense of smell is practically non existent. And yet, starting with nothing but crude stone tools and a desperate need for food, we somehow managed to walk out of Africa and conquer every single continent on Earth. How did a species that shouldn't have survived the first cold winter manage to navigate the entire world without a single map to guide them? They weren't wandering, they were running from something and chasing something else at the same time. During the Ice Age, glaciers weren't just cold, they were a wall. As they crept forward, they swallowed hunting grounds, dried up rivers, and pushed entire herds of animals south out of reach. And when your next meal is walking away from you, you don't stay put. You follow it. This is the push-pull that drove migration, the ice pushing behind them, the herds pulling them forward. Add in competition, other bands of humans fighting over the same shrinking land, and staying still wasn't safety. It was a death sentence. So generation by generation, without ever deciding to explore the world, they were simply following food, escaping cold, and avoiding conflict. That's the entire engine behind one of the greatest journeys in the history of life on Earth. They weren't explorers, they were survivors who happened to end up everywhere. Here's the part that gets overlooked. They didn't survive because they were tough. Mammoths were tough, saber-toothed cats were tough, humans survived because they were smart, and more importantly, because they were social. A single human alone in an Ice Age landscape is basically prey. But a group of 30 humans who can plan together, communicate a plan, and execute it as a unit, that's a different animal entirely. Coordinated hunting, driving prey into a trap, timing an ambush from multiple angles required something almost no other species had. Language complex enough to plan the future, not just react to the present. And it wasn't just hunting, it was memory. Knowing which plants were poisonous, which berries ripened in which season, which animals migrated where and when. That knowledge had to be taught, remembered, and passed down. Every generation didn't have to rediscover survival from scratch. They inherited it. That's the real technology of early humans. Not the spear, not the fire, the network of language, memory, and trust that let information outlive the individual. They didn't outrun the Ice Age. They outthought it together. Here's where most people get it wrong. We imagine some ancient explorer, backpack slung over his shoulder, striding out of Africa and reaching Asia in his lifetime. That never happened. Nobody crossed continents. Not really, not as individuals. What actually happened is far stranger and far more impressive. A group would move 20 miles, find water, find food, find safety, and stay there. Not for a season, for 20 years, sometimes a lifetime. Their children grew up there, and when those children became adults, some of them moved another 20 miles and did the same thing all over again. It wasn't a journey, it was a slow, multi-generational creep across the surface of the planet. So slow that no single person alive at the time would have described themselves as migrating anywhere. They just knew where the water was this year and where it might be next year. Stretch that process out over 10,000 years, and 20 miles at a time adds up to entire continents. It wasn't speed, it was momentum passed down like an heirloom. This doesn't make the achievement smaller. It makes it almost unbelievable because no one alive ever saw the whole journey. They just handed it to the next generation and trusted them to keep going. Every person watching this right now is a descendant of people who refused to stop moving. Not because they were fearless, because they had to be. They crossed deserts, ice fields, and oceans they couldn't see the end of. Without a single map, using nothing but memory, cooperation, and an unreasonable amount of stubbornness. And somehow, that drive never left us. We don't need to migrate to survive anymore, but the itch is still there. Every time you look at a place you've never been and think, I wonder what's out there, that's not curiosity. That's 10,000 generations of momentum still running through you. If you want to see how humanity actually conquered the rest of the world, after this, subscribe, because this is only the beginning of that story.